Hello and welcome to SoBricks. I'm Adam and this is SoBricks. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Lego Ninjago Dragons Rising Cole's Titan Dragon Mech set. This is set number 71821. It has 1,055 pieces, and I paid $100 for this set. This is, I don't know what wave this is from for Dragons Rising. I really like these Ninjago mechs. I think I've looked at a Cole mech in the past, but well, actually, maybe not. I mean, maybe like smaller ones, but not like a big one like this. I like Cole. I tend to like Cole's like color scheme. I also really like Zane's color scheme, and this has some feel to it as Zane's Titan mech. So I did want to check this out. And as far as I understand it, this is like pretty big, which I'm excited to see what this all has in store for it. And so I decided to pick this up. It came out some time ago, but I'm finally looking at it and looking forward to it. So in this video, I'm going to open this up, I'm going to put this together, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on it. So while I build, I will speed the video up, and then I'll slow it back down to review this set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this Lego Ninjago Dragons Rising Cole's Titan Dragon Mech set, I just wanted to say thanks for watching. I'm going to remind you, if you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. That helps me a lot, means a lot to me, so thank you very much. And then I wanted to spend some time talking about the build. So we start off with kind of building the torso and waist area, hip area. The torso is, for a lot of these mechs, or maybe all of them, kind of where the cockpit is. And we have some nice techniques in here. A couple stickers in this set, not a big deal. They're paced really well, so I never felt like I was just putting on stickers for a period of time. We kind of have the overall like chest area and cockpit area built, and then we build this sort of waist area, which actually sits at a pretty interesting angle, which allows for some of the beautiful like articulation and different things we get after that. And then we can work on the kind of upper thigh leg area there as well, which is great. For many parts of this, there is some like symmetry on the right and the left, so you can kind of make two things at once throughout the whole process, which I appreciate. And then we will start working on the legs, starting with the feet, actually. And this is an example where the feet right to left are the exact same, so these could be built at the same time. I didn't do that in this instance, but I could do that, or I could have done that. These feet are really wide. They have great like little traction pads. And then we will work on kind of the next area of the feet, which is going to include sort of the ankle cover or something on that gets clipped on there, which is really, really nice. And then we'll also add sort of these piston type system pieces, Technic systems type pieces on the back, which allows for the really dynamic articulation that the legs and ankles have, which is beautiful to see. And then we'll keep going, sort of building these legs upward. And here we're going to build sort of the lower like calf area to connect more to those the foot. And then also we're going to build sort of the knee area here as well, the knee joints, and then some of the other kind of nice techniques used to make these knees have the kind of functionality that they have. So first we attach it like this, and then we built a semi sort of rail system, and we're going to build some sub-assemblies that can like fit in there, which is really, really cool. It looks great and functions just seamlessly, which is awesome. So I loved putting this together. There's, again, really, really good articulation throughout all of this, which is kind of the shining mark for this set in general. And here you can see I'm kind of just building these parts at the same time. I'll go through like a period of steps and then do it on the other one, and then before moving on, we can attach the legs. And there we have kind of the legs there. The legs are bulky, they're big, they're stable, they're really, really nice. And then after we are done with the legs, we can move on to the arms. So there's some nice techniques in here for some stud reversals using some of these bigger angled plates there. Color blocking has like changed a lot, so we have more of the black and gray and orange and gold instead of a lot of the like white pieces that we were using. And again, these are not the exact same, but they're built pretty similarly. Just mirrored right to left a little bit there. So those are kind of the shoulder area, pauldron areas there, which is really great. We can move on to the sort of bicep area into the elbow area, which again has multiple points of articulation that allow for some super imaginative and like sort of movement style poses, which I appreciate. And again, these aren't built exactly the same, but virtually the same, just mirrored right and left for the forearms there. And then we can add the hands on. After that, the last bag of pieces here, we work on kind of the like mech head kind of piece there that also covers up kind of the cockpit, which is pretty good. I like how they do these. And then we can work on the sort of wing assembly flight pack type thing here, which felt similar to me to one that is on the Crystal King kind of mech-ish set there, but not exactly the same. And this thing is already like way too big to fit in my current sort of angle that I record in, but I try to do my best. I play around with it a little bit because it is so interesting and so fun to play with all of the different articulation and different poses, and that's kind of everything there. So I really enjoyed this, and now on to my review for this set. Okay, so that is this Lego Ninjago Dragons Rising Cole's Titan Dragon mech set. This is pretty awesome. I'm really happy with this, and I'm glad I finally got to look at this. I would say this is like a great set. I've looked at a few of these mechs before. I know I've looked at many of the smaller ones in Ninjago, but even in Ninjago, I looked at the like Naya's Samurai X mech. I looked at the Jay's Lightning mech. I looked at the Zane mech, I want to say. I've also looked at like the combining mech. I don't know if I've covered all of those on the channel, but I have built those at the very least, and maybe a couple others. And I tend to really like them. Some are better than others, but I think this one might be up there with the best. I did the one that was from Ninjago Legacy. I thought was really good and was great value. And I am going to just spoiler alert. I think this one is really great value as well. So that is great. And I have it semi disassembled right now, just because it's so big that my current kind of setup isn't the best for talking about and handling stuff like this, and it's also not the best for showing the full extent of this. So I would recommend people, if they really don't get a good sense of its size or its abilities here, to check out the Jang Bricks video about this same set, because in that video Jang does a really phenomenal job of showing all of the different kind of intricacies of this and why it's so great. I think Jang puts it in several different poses that otherwise it would be difficult for me to do here, but this is awesome, and I'm really happy with what we have here. The first thing I want to show though is the minifigure. This is interesting. There's only one minifigure in this set. There's no side builds, there's no antagonist or villain characters. There is just Cole, and this is Mech Cole, which is kind of interesting. Really like the katanas here in that trans orange color, which is great. And then we have kind of the dual molded mask and head piece here. And we have the pauldron piece. It doesn't have any spots for the katanas to go on, so we just have that armor there. On this side, we have like the eye mask with some extra little detail. We do have an alternate face without that there, so we could get kind of the eye action. And then really interesting color-wise because it's all white, and I don't know if that's because it's mech coal versus coal. I'm used to seeing mostly like, yeah, orange and black, I think. But a lot of white here and a lot of detail. So tons of good kind of detail for the armor and different stuff. Same down into the midsection, onto the legs. Really good detail all the way through. No printing on the arms. Back of the torso, really super detailed kind of mech armor like thing. But again, you know, I guess the back has more kind of gray and then the orange highlights and stuff. I'm just used to Cole being more black than this. So kind of interesting. It does feel to me that this matches the mech color blocking in some ways, which I think is good. I was just surprised to see that. And I have to say, you know, just one minifigure, no antagonists, no side things, is a choice that in this case I'm perfectly fine with. So I'm really happy with that. So just the one Cole minifigure here, and then the rest of the set is this mech. So there's a couple different things here. I will kind of get this into its other sort of, well, I'll put all of these other elements back into the mech here so we can see what it looks like. This is big. I don't know what the official sort of dimensions say. The back of the box says from like tip to tail, or like from the very top point to the bottom is maybe close to like 18 inches or 17 and a half inches, 45 centimeters, which is really, really big. But that is measuring from a particular point here. So if I put this back in, we can see that this is kind of enormous. This adds the kind of back wing sort of flying thing there, adds a bunch of like visual weight and a bunch to it, but it also adds some height there. So when Lego is like measuring it on the box, they are doing it from the top of the highest one of these to the bottom. But even without that, you know, from the top bottom to this, I mean, this is only maybe 5 inches. So this is still probably at least a foot or more. If I grab my handy dandy ruler and just kind of look at it roughly, I mean, I'm seeing potentially to like the top of the pauldrons or the top of the head, you know, almost, yeah, 12, 13, 14 inches, something in there. I know that's a big range, but just depending on where you look at it from, that's pretty substantial. You know, comparing it to a minifig here, and if the minifig was standing on the ground, it is really big. Excuse me. Really big and really, really cool. So I know just because I'm looking at this like top down, it doesn't give a great sense of the size and the impact of looking at this. And maybe that's something that I want to address so that I can cover more different kinds of sets more effectively. But this has a really imposing presence for it, and it has some really good little features, functionality, and different things. I am, for the sake of the video, going to take the kind of flight pack wing assembly off, and I'm also going to take off the main kind of accessory in the giant blade piece there. So I'm going to remove those, simple enough to get those off, which I like. And then I just want to talk about the build for this first. So you start by building kind of the torso area here, and the torso area is really interesting. There's a lot of building in ways that I didn't expect. Like I didn't expect this sort of chest area to come out so far like that. There's some nice techniques in there. There's really good kind of paneling and stuff, which is awesome. So really awesome kind of stuff in there. It's also like um, the basis for all of this starts at that kind of torso area and the hip area. So if I move this arm a little bit out of the way here, you can kind of see that the torso onto the hips sits at a really interesting angle right here. So the hips kind of angle in a little bit or forward a little bit. And that's really nice, very sturdy. The kind of cockpit area, torso area is very nice. On the back, we have kind of this outlined area. That is where the pack or the kind of wing assembly will attach. So it's sort of recessed in there and nicely finished out here. We do have waist articulation, and because of the way that this sits, I thought maybe some of these kind of like panel pieces or some of these edges would like catch other pieces, but we don't have that. So this can spin all the way around, which is very, very good. Nice to get the waist articulation in here, pretty well covered up, so that is great. And then yeah, it sits at this really interesting angle that I appreciate there. And then we build the legs, and the legs are actually done in kind of some in different ways here. They sort of divvied up this set into four kind of sections. There was four instruction manuals. So one of them is for the kind of torso area, one is for the sort of legs and feet, and then the arms, and then the like head and the accessories was the last one. So pretty well paced build, I would say. And the legs are great. You start by building the feet, and I will say, you know, the legs, one of the beautiful things about them, which I really, really like, they look great. Color blocking is really good. They are also the same right to left, which we don't always see. I mean, there is some mirroring, but in many places there's not even mirroring. They're just like symmetrical. And so they are the same over here and over here, which is really great. So like the feet, you can build both of them at one time. Same for everything around here. The feet are big, they are wide. They do have the rubber sort of traction pads in here that can go in like Technic pinhole areas. So we have some rubber there to get some extra traction. And then they're just very big, a little bit wider at the heel. The build for them is really nice. I loved how these two pieces here came together. I don't know if I've seen them used that way, but that's a really, really nice curve there, which is great. We have kind of this toe covering or ankle covering piece here, which is excellent on both of them. And then we have the back of this, which I've already kind of showed, and it doesn't look that bad. It looks like mechanical. It doesn't, you know, we see like the bottom of plates or bricks or different things, but I think it looks pretty darn good. And this can give you a sense of all the different articulation here and the different ways in which we built some of these assemblies. So you got the feet, then you have like the calf area and the ankles, and they use these kind of not you know, not pneumatic or hydraulic or something, but these special kind of I don't know, like pistons almost, which are really, really great. So they attach with ball joints down here, and it's just a Technic axle with a stopper coming up through this. And you can see that these kind of the little axle pieces move while we're in there. And then behind that, we just have a bigger kind of ball joint in there. And what that allows us to do is actually lean the feet kind of like this, so you can have them at an angle or something. You get a decent amount of forward and backward there as well. You can also like twist them a little bit, and there's just a lot more kind of motion here because you sort of have these 3 points that are connected, and we can kind of move them all on there, which I think is really useful to get this in sort of kneeling poses or running poses. And it also it feels very, very sturdy because of that. And so there's some really, really good articulation just down at the feet level. I think these look cool too. They feel very robotic and mechanical there. So that's really nice. The other thing is these kind of like piston elements connect with some mixel ball joints in there. So they can sort of move as well. So we have all that articulation at the angle, and then we have the knees. The knees here are terrific. So it's using 3 of the kind of ball joint type pieces, the similar ones that are down here. This I've seen them do before, but the really interesting thing to me is the kneecap and kind of the double knee action. So if I bend the knee right here, this whole assembly, that kneecap area, slides with it to kind of cover up some of the stuff. And that we just kind of do a brick built sort of rail system with tiles, and these pieces underneath here just slide through that little kind of cutout we've made, and it's really, really nice. It doesn't add, I don't think, a ton of like stability, although maybe there's like a little bit of extra friction in there and a little bit more connection points. We can bend this to about 90 degrees. You don't have a ton of like forward bending, so like we can't, but that makes sense for knees, I would say. So this is really good, and then we can still kind of work with the ankle here, and that's great. And yeah, I think this all looks really good using the like tiles in there, or the ingot pieces. There's like lots of little things in here that work really, really great. I was really pleased with how this sliding mechanism is done. Good amount of bulk around here, which is really terrific, and this feels excellent to me. Working our way up, then we get to kind of the thigh area here. You may have already seen this. Once we're up at the waist, the waist sits at that angle. We do have like the double ratchet joints up there, so we can splay these out a bit. We do have these like skirt pieces or whatever that can get out of the way. We can splay these out. We can also move these forward and move these back up here at kind of the hip area. So we can do that. And then up at the top of the thigh, we have ratcheted rotation here, which is something that I don't think I've seen in like Ninjago mechs like this, which allows for, again, like really, really dynamic posing. Just something as simple as that, when we're like, if we're splaying the legs out a little bit, or we're getting it kind of kneeling down, that is pretty important, and I feel pretty good about handling this. I know I sort of messed up some of the skirt pieces there, but let me see what I can do here. If I wonder, so if they were sort of sliding in some way, we can balance, but like uh, being able to kind of rotate where this back leg is going to land, rotate where this is going to be, and then sort of move all of these other pieces, I think is pretty impressive. So I know we can get it sort of leaned back like that, and then we can move the arms or different things, and that's a perfectly fine pose that I don't feel is too unstable or anything like that. We could do it. I don't know if it can stand on one leg. That is something I like to test, but we could probably get something approximating that. I think the ratchet for the kind of upper leg articulation is doesn't have maybe enough for like how much weight is here, but actually like that we have it on 1 foot. So just the 1 foot was touching the ground. This one wouldn't have been. And I'm able to get it there. If I'm able to get it in like a convincing kind of kick pose, um it's going to be a little bit precarious, but it can be achieved, something like that. And finding the balance there is a little bit of a process, but it feels really good to handle this. So I know I'm about there. Um, so that is really great. And like I said in the Jang Bricks review of this, Jang does go through and show like a lot of really cool poses that they were able to achieve with this, which I really enjoyed. So that is nice to see. There's just a lot of articulation for the legs while also like feeling really, really good. So I'm super, super pleased with that. I think I just moved that a little bit there, but that is all good. So very, very nice, very, very cool. Happy with all of that. Then we do have the waist articulation, like I said, which can help. And even so, like when it's standing like this, I kind of have these sort of turned out a little bit, and you can do that up here too. So even the knees aren't just like straight on or anything. And because we have the articulation like up in there, and we can move them backward and forward, we can spin them, we can bend them here, we can do a bunch of stuff at the feet. There's just a lot of room for possibilities and discovery when handling this and playing with this. And then we build the arms, and the arms are similar. There are some mirrored elements in here. And I will point out there are also stickers in this set. So sticker sheet right here, nothing too crazy. The ones right there on kind of that skirt piece, 4 on the Nexonite shields up there, 2 of them on either of these, and then these on the side here. And I think that might be all of them. Oh, wait, no, there's at least 2 more Nexonite shield ones right here and right here. So not too many stickers. I think they add some good detail. They're very easy to apply, nothing like weird shaped or anything like that. So feel pretty good about that. The arms are built in kind of sections as well. So the color blocking is consistent. Sort of, we got the black up around the pauldron areas there. These were really, really fun to build. Nice techniques, some like stud reversals in there that I thought were good, using like Technic bricks and pins and an axle kind of going through stuff. We have the same kind of articulation up here with that double sort of ratchet hinge joint. So we can bring these arms up, we can rotate them around, and we might have to be a little bit careful of like different interactions around the hip area if we like raise one arm up like that. But that feels really great, really natural, and we have the ability to kind of move things out of the way to get that there. So we can move the arms. We also like the legs up at the upper arm. We have the rotation here. So besides like forward and back and in and out, we have the rotation there. And then we have the elbow area. So we can kind of bend this, which is basically like, like 90 degrees there. But then we can bend it again up even further. So there's 2 ratchet hinge pieces in there, which means we can get this kind of like all the way curled in, which is really great. And combined with all of the other articulation in here, we get a ton of movement. These connections feel very sturdy, very, very cool. The forearm is good, bulky, sort of mirrors the like black to gray to white with the orange and gold kind of highlights throughout it that the legs also make use of. And then the hands are just on that bigger kind of ball joint type piece there. Pretty simple, has the 4 fingers. You can articulate those around a bit, and then it just has the Technic pin in the inside so that we could put an accessory there. I feel like the hands are pretty stable and feel pretty good. So we can get a ton of movement with the arms. And because of that, that helps for like balancing stuff with if we're doing something wild with the legs or whatever, we can counterbalance things with the arms by leaning them over or just doing whatever. There's just a lot of movement here in a way that I am not used to seeing in mechs of this scale, and I'm pretty impressed with. I feel like Lego doesn't often do something so with so many options, and there's still a lot of strength here. There's not too crazy of a build techniques in wise. I mean, there are some really good ones, but nothing like crazy advanced or nothing that feels very flimsy or anything like that, at least to me. It feels very finished, and there's just a ton of really, really awesome like poses that we can get this in, and I'm pretty pleased with it. My one thing is that this ratchet up here, I think, could have used maybe just a little bit more friction in there because these legs are very, very heavy, and the top of this is also pretty heavy. So most of the other joints I think are quite good. You know, the arms, it's a similar joint up here, but these sort of assemblies for the arms are not nearly as bulky as the legs. So these feel a little bit better, feel a little bit more secure. And I think the legs do have a tendency to kind of like, if I were to let it go, they would probably, rotate back on their own. I mean, maybe not automatically, but or like just with gravity, but with very little force would kind of get that. And we can get this to kind of lean forward and address somebody on the ground. There's just a ton of really, really cool positions and articulation that we can be achieved here. We do have the cockpit area. I haven't put the mech coal in there yet. We can do that. We have to take the katanas off, but there is a place to put them. And then I really like how they do these sort of samurai mech head kind of pieces there. It doesn't offer great like coverage for whatever character is sitting down in there, and the only access we get to this is through the front here, so it's a little bit difficult, or not through the front, but kind of through the top there, and it's a little bit of a tight fit. You don't need to stud them down. We can have them sort of seated in there. We can cover them up a little bit, but that doesn't look just right, and that is about what we can do. I mean, yeah, they don't have a ton of coverage or a ton of protection up there, but it's also maybe not too bad. We could cover it with the arms and different stuff, or, rotate out of the way perhaps, which is nice. And I think it makes sense to me to want to see the character in there and everything, but they are a little bit exposed, which could be a problem. I don't know. There's probably a fine way to modify this so that isn't the case, but we can sort of see them right there. But that is what they look like inside. And the head build is pretty straightforward, but really, really good. I like the little kind of translucent used in there. We can turn the head area, move it up and down. We also have the hinge back there, and then we can spin it because of the ball joint, and that feels really, really good. And then we can look at the accessories. So I kind of already showed where they are used on here, but the sort of wing pack type thing, or flight pack, very good builds, feels similar to me. Oh yeah, I mean the Crystal King set is kind of like a mech, kind of like a dragon. And that's the other thing. I've looked at a lot of like Ninjago dragons. And I think they had a similar kind of wing pack there, but not actually using some of these same kind of A-frame like pieces or something. This one is a little bit more substantial. Colors feel really good. We can move these individual kind of blade wings on their own. They don't rotate at all, but we have like the hinge there, so we can move those. And then we have the double kind of ball joint in here to move those in and out. Same on the other side. These blue pins are covered up nicely, and so you don't see them. Plus, this whole area sits recessed in the back. And then right here, we have these two clips, which are where we can put the katanas. So you could have them standing up, you could have them kind of going down, and we can get those in there, and then we can pop this in. It feels really good sort of moving this in. It's easy enough to align, not a big deal. And then when it's on there, we can move these out of the way to kind of get a little more access to where we want the katanas to be. So if we need to, we don't have to like take off the whole wing pack to get access to those. So we can kind of move those in and out. And then, yeah, we because we can move all these different parts of the arms, we can, what just came off? Oh, let me make sure I get that back in there. There we go. And we can get these arms out of the way, and then we can articulate these different things. It is a really stunning, really impressive looking model with all of this on there. I mean, I really appreciate how much bulk is in here. The legs especially feel really bulky. I love these shoulders as well. So that's great. And then we just have these really, really big wings here. The blade itself is like kind of the accessory for the mech is awesome. This is using a relatively new piece. This was the piece used for the ornithopter from the Dune set, which I have finally bought the Dune set. I have not built it yet, but this is kind of the wings from that, but recolored as instead of, I think, silver or like pearl silver into the pearl gold color here. So it's very, very flexible, but you can kind of, if it's bent or anything, you can kind of get it back by working with it a little bit, which feels pretty good. And it just looks awesome. And this weapon is like, you know, as tall as the character is, or the mech itself is, and we can get some really good poses with this. So like having the blade sort of resting on the ground and something like that. We can have it, you know, up over the head, something up here, which is very, very cool. This fell out, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I just didn't have it seated in there 100% of the way. There we go. So we can have the blade kind of going over everything up there, and moving this with the hands and the arms just makes sense. It feels pretty good. I have this in there in a particular orientation that if we swapped this around, this can rotate as well if we want it to be, you know, one particular way or the other. If I switch it like this, maybe that makes more sense. You can put it in either hand, which is great. And I just think this is a imposing, impressive, sort of big, dynamic sort of mech here. I think this is really, really awesome. I think this is a great choice for the piece there, and I'm super, super pleased with how this looks. Now, I'm not like super knowledgeable about like Gundam or other sort of anime mech type things, or but even like I guess I've seen Pacific Rim or big like robots that are piloted like this. But I do have experience with the Lego versions of them and Lego Ninjago, and I really really like them. This one might be the best yet. I think it's pretty darn good. I really really like it. I'll show the extra pieces because you do get some, and actually for the set this size, not that many. This is the piece that's used for like the traction there. A little bit of Technic, the kind of nice like horn type piece that is just used for the on the face there. Some gold, some orange, your one by ones, studs, tiles, little pieces, stuff like that. Not very many of them. And this set is 1,055 pieces, one minifigure, and retails for $100. Um, that's a great deal. $100 for something of this size is a great deal. And it doesn't have IP attached to it. It doesn't have a bunch of extra characters and stuff like that. But this is sizable and very, very good and very fun. I think this is bigger than the Jay's Lightning Mech, probably. Maybe similar to the Naya one. And the Zane one, I think, was a little bit smaller, and that one I think retailed for like $60 and maybe had like 800 pieces or something. I think the Naya one might have been in that $120 range, and I can't remember how many pieces it had, if it had like 1100 or just about the same as this. And the Jay's Lightning Mech, I think that's what it was called. I think it was a similar price point, but $100 for this. This came out in 2024, still available in 2025. I think that is potentially one of the better kind of deals for like modern Lego sets here. It feels really, really good. And all of it is in this build. All of it is in this mech, meaning there isn't side builds, even though this kind of wing assembly could be seen as a sort of side buildy type thing. Even for this, that it doesn't take a ton of pieces, and it's really, I think, utilized really, really well in here, even though I've had just now 2 issues of this kind of falling out of there. I got to maybe adjust at what angle the sort of torso is sitting. I wouldn't be super worried about this falling off. Just part of the sort of deal of how I'm handling this for the video's sake makes that a little more likely to happen, I think. But all of the stuff here, there's no other little things on the ground or antagonists or all those stuff. So like really the whole $100 and the whole part budget is just for this mech, flight pack thing, wing thing, and blade included. And I think you get your money's worth. There's like a lot of big pieces in here. There's not a ton of one by ones and little pieces. This is a like big formative or formidable kind of mech where when I look at this and say like, oh, this was $100, I feel like, oh, really? Like only $100? I think the $100 price point is a really, really important price point for things to hit. Over that, it sort of goes in my mind to like a different sort of class of item. But like for collectors, for play, for display, this is top of the line in my opinion. And even the other thing that Jang does in their video is compare this to one of their Gundam models that was like twice as much and all this other stuff. And this holds up to it. This is for $100 for this, even though, 10 cents per piece or whatever, which it is in line with. This is a great value. The build was very, very fun. I was impressed with all of it. And I think it's like the best mech that Lego has done of this scale, or maybe that Lego and the Lego group has done and the Lego designers have done like ever. I think this is pretty fantastic. I have very little kind of issues with it. The only thing is, yeah, maybe the friction here could be a little bit better, but I do appreciate that this is here, and I'd rather have it here like this, being able to move those areas there than not have them, just because they're worried about some of the stability. It feels very stable. I know some people thought maybe there was some sort of clumsy, clunky areas there, but I don't have that experience with it really, and I'm thoroughly impressed. I loved this build. I love this model. I'm very, very happy with it. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So great. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the Lego videos I'll be doing here in the future, including more Ninjago, some more Ninjago mechs. I have an old retired mech set that I'm super excited to look at. And then tons of other Lego sets from all different themes, all different shapes, size, price point, piece count, tons of different stuff. So subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming Lego videos. And if you want to support this channel and support my videos here, you can give money to the channel. That really, really helps. I do pay for all of these with my own money. So if you're compelled to do that, there are ways to do that. On YouTube, there's membership, supers, and thanks. There's a Patreon. It's linked in the video description, linked on my channel page, patreon.com/SoBricks. So that's a good way. There is a buy me a coffee link. There's also a like affiliate links. There'll be an affiliate link to buy this, but also via one of those affiliate links, if you were buying, a screwdriver or packaging tape or key rings or something, I would still maybe get a percentage of that sale if you clicked on one of those links. There's no additional cost to any of it for you. It's just what that company, that major online retailer that has enough money, would like give a little bit of money to me. So if you remember to do that, or if you're interested in doing that, that is a great way to help. Like I say, I'm pretty sure it applies to not just the stuff that's linked, but if you click one of those links and then go to that retailer via that link and then type in something else, I believe I should still be able to get like a 1 to 2 to 3% of that like total sale at no additional cost to you. So maybe consider checking that out. I do appreciate it. Every little bit helps and it does add up. So thank you very much. And with all of that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.